This loss has got nothing to do with economic mismanagement. Voter apathy affected NPP even more. If you've cared to listen, everywhere you go, sometimes in some places, people were even at the polling station who were saying they're not going to vote. It has never happened. MPs were begging people who they knew. They said, no, they're not going to vote. That is not about economic mismanagement. That's about a deep-seated problem the party hasn't addressed.
Last time I saw you, you were furious at some people who, in Parliament, who appeared to my untrained eye that they were manhandling somebody who had just collapsed.
No, I was not furious. In times of emergency, you don't think, you do what is right. You get it right. Because you have a short window of opportunity to save a life or lose a life. So you have to be trained for that emergency. And if you are not trained, it is your action that will lead to the death or disability of the patient.
What could have gone wrong? Because we saw the man collapse and then he was being held to his feet and he was made to walk. What could have gone wrong? We're glad he's okay.
Never immediately prop up somebody who has collapsed. Put him in a neutral position. Because that is the body's natural way of preventing oxygen to the brain. So something is going on in the body that is hampering oxygen supply maybe to the brain. And the body's reaction is to fall down, lie flat, so that that can flow better to the brain. So you ought not to prop the person up immediately. You have to put the position in a position which is neutral. That is on the side, so that the person's tongue doesn't fall back, or you keep the airway of the person's patent, so that person can breathe. Then you do other things.
Now people know.
I think for me this is my second bad experience in Parliament, and I hope that the emergency medical technicians or team will get training in advanced life support and advanced traumatic life support.
It's a couple of hours to end this 8th Parliament of the 4th Republic. When you woke up this morning, what kind of thoughts were traveling through your brain?
16 years of hard work, 16 years of impact, I believe. And everything must come to an end sometime. It's how you have prepared yourself for the end that matters. And you look back now and you ask yourself whether it was wasted years or impactful years.
Did you prepare for the end?
Yes. I keep telling people that day one that you start a new job, write your
Exit.
You have to prepare for exit very well. And you prepare for exit from day one.
So you're no longer MP?
I will no longer be an MP from midnight tonight.
Yes. What next for you? I mean, it's been a long time in public service. Are you going back to your medical duties?
Oh, I'll decide on what to do. Maybe I'll just sit back, write a couple of books. I'm writing 3 books, so my experience in government.
3 books?
And maybe finalize it, take the time, get into a research body and get the books and then get on with life.
Are there any what-ifs in your mind today?
What if I didn't wake up?
No.
What
if things had turned out differently in December? What if things had turned out differently the time you were an MP? Or any what ifs?
I'm not sure of the use of what if in this circumstance, because you have to practice, hone your skills and expertise every day. And we are currently in a world where you never know where you'll be tomorrow. So you prepare yourself adequately to face everything that is thrown at you. You become more resilient. I keep telling people that I went to the school to become a doctor. I practiced medicine and got to become a surgeon. I broke off and decided that I'm going to do politics. And even in politics, I had a tenure in my head that after this number of years, probably, if I'm not going on top, I should retire. So nothing happening today would not have happened in your what if analysis. Because if the other had happened, I'll be in a totally new job as probably the vice president-elect of Ghana. And that is also a departure from Parliament. And I believe that the 60 years has not been wasted on myself, for my constituents, for the country. And I think that it had prepared me for whatever next I have to do.
Doctor, I was just wondering, in 16 years, if you go home today and your family members asked you, what's the one biggest thing you would say you've achieved in 16 years in public life, in Parliament, or in politics, what would that be?
I think I got to be chosen as the vice presidential. I don't know how many people have had the privilege of that position in Ghana. And that in itself is an honor.
You've been at Ministry of Education, you've seen the rollout of free SHS, you've been at Ministry of Energy. Which one did you enjoy more, or which one do you think you delivered more?
I'm writing books on that. So,
Give us an inkling.
4 years in Ministry of Education, I left with scars, health scars, because the work was tremendous, but it was so impactful that is what kept him going. When I look back, the volume of work that we did, for the first time, Cabinet Secretariat decided to give me an honor just for the number of policies that we doled out in that 4 years, over 50 policies or something like that. We changed everything from basic education, from early childhood education through to university. We brought up policies from early childhood education policy, primary school policy, junior high school policy, university, tertiary education, the first of its kind in the country. We totally overhauled technical vocational education and training in this country. We've seen the results. People, somebody says data speaks, results speak. I had the chance when we started this journey to speak to you once or twice. I remember the conversations around double track. Even if we take a double track as an example, we said we promised ourselves 5 to 7 years we would exit. We exited double track within 3 years. 3 years. So it's impactful, the number of infrastructure developments that we did across the country. People don't note that in this country we've been blessed with a secondary education that is a boarding education. And I tell you, hand on my heart, that is what has kept Ghana as a country in a region where every country seems to have imploded.
You've done free SHS for 8 years. With hindsight now, a better part of you, would you say there's something you should have, maybe that people think you should have waited and executed it at the right time? The people said fix the infrastructure before you roll it out. Would you say that with hindsight now, there are some things you could have done better, looking at all the challenges with free SHS now?
Those who say fix the infrastructure have no idea what they are talking about. You complete your house, buy everything before you start childbirth? Or before you marry? That is life. It has never happened in this country or any country in the world where they fixed infrastructure before the country continues doing anything. That's it. You can't fix road infrastructure before people buy cars. You can't. You can't fix health infrastructure before people get sick. You can't. But what a country must do was to be continually improve, but not only the hardcore stuff you are talking about, the infrastructure, but the soft core things like the staff going to work in that, like health staff. How are you training the next generation of health staff? Doctors, nurses, even doctors who have qualified. How are you positioning the country to train them to postgraduate level? Because there's a continual increase in the quality of staff working in that area that will improve their service delivery. When you look at China and you look at Ghana, from the 50s to the early 80s, and look at the trajectory of maternal health, right? You see China has improved dramatically just because now every childbirth in China is a well-supervised childbirth with a well-held with a proper train, right? You look in Ghana, we went down. And for me, I don't believe that we, as a nation, we should tout certain things that me and you wouldn't allow our children to go there. An example, health, chip compound. Me and you, would we allow our daughter or our sister or our wife to go and deliver in a chip compound?
If we had our way, no.
No.
But
So you see, it is not if you have your way. If you are thinking governing a country, you have to have a plan that you don't start things that are inferior necessarily. Because childbirth must be a supervised, well-trained midwife. Simple.
The reason I asked my question about free SHS is that it's been a blessing for your government and party and also for the nation. However, there's also a view that it has become the bane of your party in that you give the people free SHS, hooray, but then after 2 years, 3 years, they realize that their children will stay home for months, they have to pay extra, their children don't have places to sleep in the school and all of that. That's why I'm asking if you thought you would have implemented it in a better way.
It's actually not true. Before free SHS, or before we introduced the semester system, the number of contact hours for those who were doing the 3 terms, was far less than the semester system. I keep saying, there's one indicator of success in education that is called contact hours. The more contact hours that you have, the better the outcomes. It's a simple indicator. So before free SHS, I kept telling them, the SSS program was a 9-term program. 9 terms.
3 years per year, 3 terms per year.
Yes, it was before we started free SHS, the last, when you go back, and I'm not criticizing any government, first year had never happened in the last 10 years or 20 years. December, they were still doing placement. Google. I don't know, for some reason, when we were in A-level, we started A-level WASI examination, GCE A-levels around May. It is the sciences that will do maybe April, practicals that will do it earlier. But we started it in May officially. But secondary school, SSS, for some reason, they started WASI in February, missing 2 terms of the final year.
It's a reduction in contact hours.
So you lost one term, and that is the single reason that the 4-year results were better than the 3 years.
So it's more contact hours.
Contact hours. And when you read that Amon Mensah report, you get to say that, yes, we can do it in 3 years, but it means that everything should be available. Which there was challenges that we couldn't provide. So when we did the free SHS, one of the basic things that we felt that we had to change was contact hours. And the contact hours we changed, we have to examine ourselves as a country. Why should schools go to start work at 9 and close at 2?
So give it more time.
Give it more time.
No, but on energy, which is
It doesn't. Let you give it time. It even helps parents. They don't have to
Look for somebody to look for them when they close earlier than parents close.
On the energy ministry, which is your last ministry, at the last hour of that ministry, there was apparent evidence of power fluctuations and what we call doomsday. Your government suppressed it. There was a call for you to publish a timetable for Ghanaians. You did not. There's a view that you did it because you refused to publish it because you wanted to look nice so that when you are named as running mate, you look good and that you have not brought doomsday. Do you think that
Umaru, sorry, Umaru. It's never crossed my mind. No single action of mine has been done with a view of political expediency. No. In 8 years of my government, I never took a single decision that I would say was because of political expediency. See, if you are honest and you tell me what happened was doomsday, please. It was some people who wanted to do equalization that wanted to bring in the doomsday. I'm coming. What do we mean by doomsday? It's not just a term that you throw at anything the time the lights go out.
It's off on. Doom, off, saw, on.
In Ghana, Dumso had come to mean you have a timetable of when your lights were going to go off. And if you lived in this country between 2012 and 2016, it progressed from 24 hours on, 24 hours on, to 24 hours on, 3 days off. Such that, let's be fair, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, when he even was handing over, one of the things he said, he was wondering where incoming President Nana Akufo-Addo was going to get money to put the lights on. The debt in the energy sector space was over 5.2 billion.
So you're saying that the magnitude
Wait.
of the power outage
It was not a magnitude of power outage. It's not a magnitude. You cannot compare anything that happened between 2012 and 2016 to the 8 years of Nana Addo's administration.
Because of the extended nature between 2012 and 2016, correct?
Extended nature, because of the level of power cuts, the impact of power cuts. CSOs, NGOs, all try to quantify, monetize the extent of power cuts. The hospitals came out, how many women who died excess because of power cuts in the hospitals? How many women who died out of child labor because of power cuts? We had all these data. Do you have it now? So it was something that gripped the country. Every government since 1992 have had challenges with power. The seasonality of the rain, how it affects our coastal blue, and everything. I won't say that we didn't have Dumso at any time. When I became the energy minister, there were 3 big national blackouts, if you do recall. People attributed it to sabotage. People attributed the baptism of fire for NAPO and things like that. That is when I sat down, did the diagnostic study, and realized that the problems are not as you see it. And I keep saying that the problem in the last 8 years has never been a generational problem.
Because Mahama left a generation of
It has never been a generation. Now, Mama had enough generation but couldn't even find the fuel for it. It's different.
So he fixed it.
He didn't fix it. See, when you say fix what? Electricity?
He left you power.
If you understand, they never left us power. The day he was swearing in, there was power rationing in the country. The day Nana Addo was being sworn in, there was power rationing in this country.
He left
You see,
excess, actually.
Omaru, you always have to educate Ghanaians. Yes. I don't believe in swearing and shouting and those things. Look, when you talk about somebody getting power in his or her house, there's a generation, there's a transmission, and there's a distribution. If you don't understand that basic fact, then there's a problem with your analysis. So if you have generation, right, 1,000 power plants, you need 500 megawatts, and you have 2,000. And that 2,000 plants sitting there, effectively, they can give you only 300. You don't have a generation problem, but you have a generation problem because the generators you have are not bringing out the power you need. It's not that you don't have the plant to. The plant is not doing the work it's supposed to do.
To capacity. Very well.
So let me finish. Okay. When you have enough generation to meet what you need, and you cannot transmit it from the point of need to the point of generation to the point of need. No, take your time. It's called transmission. That is how I came up. As demonstrated, I took press around that the cables that are being laid, the new transmission wires, somebody cannot go on a 330 voltage transmission and expect power in your house. Right? That needed to be fixed. Infrastructure. Once that was fixed, we saw enough power in the country. So when you do that, and then you have problems with distribution, and ECG came out on numerous times. Their last presentation they did, they themselves said that the power cuts that was being experienced, 75% the problem with distribution, not the problem with generation. But for the average person, he gets affected anyway. When it's a generation problem, it affects many more people than when it's a transmission problem. When the transmission problem, it affects many more people than when it's a distribution problem. Okay. Historical. Is ECG or NEDCO that supplies power to our homes? They are interface. Okay. So ECG buys power from generators and is carried by the transmitter. They are different companies. Okay. So if ECG generates, buys the power and it gets to an area and they don't have enough distribution transformers, the place has overgrown. I'll give an example, like East Legon. When I was a kid, there was not a single shop in East Legon. I lived there. There was not a single shop on even the Lagos Avenue.
It was purely residential.
Purely residential. Now it's East Legon a residential area.
It's mixed.
When I was growing up, there was no shop in Laboni or Cantonment.
Yes, that one I know.
Now, the power consumption of Laboni and Cantonment is out of their roof. Okay. The transformer they have there supplying power cannot. And so when you go to East Legon, even as a minister, I can tell you, Mimpasem, those areas, Shiashi, those areas, it has been chronic shortage of power, even throughout my stay as a minister. And I was battling with ECG because they were supposed to get transformers. Even when you get the transformers, the underground cables you have to even.
Was ECG resourced to buy these things?
So ECG was doing the work. It is not about being resourced. You collect money daily. It's managing it. ECG with better management will be probably the most, productive company in the country. ECG is not about resource, it's about management.
We've held you for long. I'll let you go, but just my last question. When John Mahama lost in 2016, the issue was whether it was a horse that was problematic for the jockey. John Mahama being the jockey, the horse being the party. You have just suffered a defeat that has, I'm not sure, been suffered in recent time by any political party. Is it Dr. Baumia who is a problem, NAPO who is a problem, or the NPP that's a problem?
People of Ghana voted. And the results of the election is not reflective of the votes of President Mahama. Because with that same vote, John Mahama lost in 2016. The same vote. In fact, in real numbers, even he decreased his number because we have added nearly 700,000 people to the register of 2016 or more. So you have to analyze it differently. Nevertheless, NPP lost. It lost both parliamentary and presidential. I can tell you, Mario, that this loss has got nothing to do with economic mismanagement.
Who should we blame?
I'm coming. I'm getting there. If you do the diagnosis, it's got every country in the world, when people have lost elections based on economic mismanagement, they go in droves to vote for the other party.
Or abstain?
No. I'll tell you the reason for abstinence. Everywhere citizens move in droves to support the opposition, number one reason is economic. In Ghana, I'll give you an example. In the US, Donald Trump lost election. Even when he won the first time, he lost the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. This time round when he won hugely on the popular vote at the Electoral College. And the number one reason, the base American will tell you, they saw grocery prices going through the roof.
Economy.
America, it was economy. In Ghana, people voted or did not vote. NPP people sat there with a loose term that people understand, voter apathy. Voter apathy affected both parties, but affected NPP even more. And voter apathy, when you analyze it, and, my party has sent the team around, has integrated the team. They'll come up with only one answer.
Which is?
Governance issues.
This current government.
governance issue.
Explain that, please.
See, when people in your party are fed up with the way you are governing, they decide not to go to flock to the opposition, but they don't even want to turn up to vote. So if you've cared to listen, everywhere you go, sometimes in some places, people were even at the police station who were saying they're not going to vote. It has never happened in this country. MPs were begging people who they knew. They said, no, they're not going to vote. That is not about economic resilience. That's about a deep-seated problem the party hasn't addressed. And that is a governance issue.
So
There's a party that begets the government. Or
yeah.
True or false?
But
True or false?
Correct?
True or false?
Yes,
and when a party begets a government, right, the leadership of the party goes to the government.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's a governance issue. If it's a governance issue, it means it's a government, right?
How come you didn't notice this? Or you
Who
noticed
says NPP didn't notice it?
Why didn't you fix it before?
Who says we could fix it? You see, you can't imagine. You can't imagine yourself to be a master of everything at every time. See, there are certain events that you may not be able to do anything about it, and it will hit you all over the world. It is not MPP that has suffered a crash. Look, in 1992 we had zero representation in Parliament. The country and the parties learned, because in 1992 the presidential election and the parliamentary election were 2 different dates. So when one party lost, they wrote the stolen verdict, and they decided that they were going to boycott Parliament. It was a party decision, right?
Yep.
Subsequently, that same party met and said that we should never have boycotted. It was better for us to go with a few seats that we would have won than to boycott. So the party changed, the country changed, and decided to fix both elections one day so that the snowball effect doesn't happen. And the snowball effect happened again in 2008, true or false? So you don't want people to do things because of a snowball effect. You want people to do things analyzing the situation around. But I can tell you, I was the vice presidential running candidate for my party. My party lost the election. I've stood on the chamber of the floor and said, we only can apologize to our supporters and Ghanaians and sit down, do our homework well, and come back. Because it will not be the first time the party has come back.
This is a verdict on Akufo-Addo. You agree that this election was not about you and Bawumia, but rather how Akufo-Addo has governed the party?
In 2008, when we lost, they said it was a verdict on Akufo.
Did you agree?
Whether I agreed or not is not what people say. It's the people's opinion.
Do you agree now?
I'm just telling you. You are trying to say it's the verdict of Akufo-Addo. Every time, you just, even in asking the question, you said when John Mahama lost in 2016, people said it was John Mahama's fault.
I didn't say that.
You said that.
I said there was.
It's not like, now you change the word to argument, but it's the same thing.
No, I said it was
This distinction has no difference.
No, I said it was
this distinction, jockey. Who was the jockey?
Jockey or horse?
Who was the jockey? Who was the jockey?
It came from.
Who was the jockey?
Jockey was the rider.
Okay.
And then
the rider was who?
Mahama.
Okay.
So
the people even at 2016 questioned whether the loss was because of Mahama or NDC as a party. Nevertheless, they lost. And that's why I'm saying that no matter who you blame, the party has lost.
But you haven't brought the Ashanti votes, though. Finally, that's my last question.
I hope you never ask that question again, because it might provoke somebody to insult you. The whole country didn't vote. We lost 2.1 million votes. Can it be for Moli Ashanti? When I hear somebody say that, I feel really that I have to insult the person. That Ashanti didn't bring a vote. What does that mean? Did Volta region bring a vote? Go and check NDC votes in 2016 and 2024, or 2020 and 2024, and look at the votes. Even in Greater Accra, John Mahama lost votes, 5% votes, compared to the last elections. So we should not get on that. That doesn't make sense, insulting tribes and people. Because if you disagree, that people will say, oh, NDC is not helping the Voltarians. It's a slippery slope we are setting up this country. In fact, in Ashanti, 65% of the people turn up to vote. 65% of the people on the register
Which is higher than the 60% of the general turnout.
Yes.
So the turnout's actually quite higher. A bit higher.
The turnout was far. There were probably only 4 or 5 other regions that turned up higher than Ashanti. When you rate the 16 regions, probably the worst region of voter turnout was Volta region of Greater Accra. 46% or something. So please, let us not tribalize things like that.
The reason
Because let us not tribalize things like that. And to say that Bawumia, the Northerner, bring the Northern votes.
Did he?
I'm asking you. So you can ask a question that doesn't make sense, in the sense that the whole country, the votes didn't come. NPP lost.
No.
Just 2020, NPP got 6.7 million votes. And in 2024, NPP dropped their vote to 4.5. That is shared around the whole country. That 2.1 million loss is shared around the whole country. Ashanti region being probably at that time the most populous region for voter. But people also should understand that for a long time, the highest region for NDC vote has always been Ashanti region, the whole country.
And that's why many.
You know
said,
that?
That's why many.
You
said
believe that?
We've done the analysis.
No, don't
so
generalize and say. Do you believe that
Doc.
that the NDC's highest vote is always in Ashanti region?
Doc, the NDC's highest
Omaru Sanda,
Doc,
Sanda.
my question to
You
you
brought
is-
something that I'm asking a question. You said you do the data. You just told people that you do the data.
am
You do the
saying to you
analysis.
that, Doc.
I'm saying that
The reason-
NDC's single highest regional vote. If it's NDC says they have a World Bank, right? The vote of the NDC World Bank is in Ashanti.
No problem. The reason I asked the question I asked was, you see, when you were nominated, people said, oh, you're from Menshia. It's very significant, and I'm using Menshia importantly here. They even said your lineage to Nana Prempeh.
I never heard all that.
Okay, maybe if it's not true, then that's fine. That's what I heard. And they said
My
that-
lineage is true.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
these arguments you are making, if the fringe makes an argument, it doesn't mean the general.
So they say you're going to have
They
the
say who?
votes.
Give me one name.
A lot of the parties.
No, it's not true.
The reason they chose you.
The party supporters or Bawumia didn't choose me because I was Ashanti. Have you asked Dr. Bawumia?
No, I haven't.
So how do you then go to somebody who has the exclusive reason for choosing a candidate and then say that some people you met at the roadside are saying they chose NAPO because of Ashanti? That is, again, tribalizing elections in this country.
Thank you for speaking to us.
And I'll end by asking you, I hear that MPs have like their favorite people when they're in the House. You've been there for 16 years. Which of the MPs will you miss most now that you're leaving the House of Parliament? Who was your buddy? Who was your buddy over the 16 years?
I hope not to comment on this. Because I've had buddies on both sides. I've had buddies the whole time. In fact, when I compare 8 years or 16 years in Parliament and 8 years in government, where I enjoyed myself most was in the bowels of Parliament. And I have deep friends, brothers, across both aisles. And I benefited from a lot of the senior NDC people taking me as somebody who was their junior brother or something, and really tutoring me in Parliament. You'd be surprised. E.T. Mensah, Joe Ajaho, lots of them held my hand and tutored me. Babi, on my side, Chairman Sabos and others also helped me. Opari Ansa helped me. I was in Kenya University with Opari Ansa, and I came to meet him here as the speaker. And I keep saying this. When I came, and like my colleagues have come, they said I should choose committees to work on. I chose 2 committees, House Committee and Standing Orders Committee.
Any reason?
Because when I got elected, the first thing I did was to get myself a copy of the Standing Orders and read the functions of all the committees. And I thought the Standing Orders Committee, that deals with our standing order process, the procedure and everything, it would be good to be on the committee to learn more, because I was even reading the Standing Orders. So I wanted
fast track to learning.
To fast track my learning. And the House Committee was the committee that dealt with the welfare issues of the House, which was very, very interesting. So those are the committees. Only to be told that those are the 2 committees that never met in the lifetime of Parliament. And none of us that knowing me from KNUST said I should go on the Appointments Committee and the Health Committee. And the rest is history. We did so much work on both committees.
Who was your fiercest debate opponent? I mean, somebody you went hammer and tongs to debate issues, but you come out and you still respect the person, even though the argument was vigorous?
The nature of parliamentary debate is not opposing debates that we have in secondary schools and universities, that they give you a topic and then you say why cars move with round tires. Somebody says I'm for somebody. No, that's the nature of the House. So it's difficult to attribute a debate to a person. So you prepare yourself, and when an issue comes, you bring your points up. If you do that, you have huge opportunities, and you know your standing orders to talk about everything. Just last week, one of the other colleagues were telling people that when we were in opposition, some of us, myself and Obi Amwa, we decided that Friday was our day. Meaning Friday when the business statement is read. That is why we take NDC to cleaners. And we developed it into an art form.
Okay.
We developed it into an art form
Every
Friday, where we will quote things that we were supposed to do, things that were supposed to happen, questions that were supposed to come, and things like that.
You give them weekend headaches.
Every Friday. That my beloved George who would turn his head and lock it in the majority side, only to turn and one of us is standing. So you have to create the space to be heard. And it's only creating the space to be heard and people realizing that you speak progressively, you speak objectively, it makes sense that people will start taking you for serious. Because you can be lost.
You can be lost. What would you miss most as MP, most as minister? What would you miss most?
8 years as an opposition MP, I really enjoyed the role because the responsibility of an opposition MP is to put the government on its toes. We had no inkling in our mind that we couldn't make decisions because we were in a minority, but we could make our voice heard. And the people, Ghanaians listening to us, will make up our minds that we really voted for a bad government. In government in the next 8 years, my point was to work with my committees as a minister and make sure that my committees do work as they would want to work. Hide nothing from the committees. Be transparent enough with them so that you get the cooperation. So you see that the most number of bills ever passed in a certain ministry happened in the education ministry during my time. About 11 or 12 bills. You could do a bill a day. And it was just because of cooperation and working together in the floor of Parliament. So there are different times when I was in government, I had to still find ways of engaging. I said I like my MPship more than my governorship. Find an MP, because that is where democracy is. People forget that once Parliament shuts, there's no democracy. Because in cool times, we have governments. We have executive governments who then arrogate or appropriate for themselves legislative power. So PNDC was both executive and legislative power. And we have judiciary that remains in one form or the other. The only thing that we say your country is not democratic is when this chamber is lost from the equation. And I believe that we have to evolve and make the chamber better. Evolve politics in the country into different directions. I hope that with the majority that NDC have, we could come to some sensible decisions around our constitution and our democracy.
Finally, after by the way, how do you rest? How do you relax? How does a surgeon and a former MP, soon to be former MP and minister, relax? How do you relax?
I'm very, very shy. So
you're shy?
Very, very shy.
I don't think my people believe you.
Yes, they won't believe me, but that is the other thing. So anytime I get, I shut myself and pick a book and read.
What are you reading now?
I'm an voracious reader.
What are you reading now?
I'm reading about leadership by Tony Blair.
Is that preparation for 2028?
No. As leaders, you elect yourself to become a parliamentarian or something, but it is not the parliamentarian or the executive position that makes you a leader. It's how you are prepared to impact the lives of people that are around you. How you've prepared yourself to let people see a different approach to solving chronic issues, and making sure that your approaches that you are gathering with the people comes to pass, and it helps people actually meet their needs. Human beings have an insatiable appetite. Their concern today might not be their concern tomorrow. And as a leader, it is not your expertise in that field. It's your ability to mobilize our people to find out their problems and together solve it with them. That's why people go and put boreholes in communities, and the women folk get angry of using the community, because they bring up their next women by going to fetch water and grooming them.
And talking to them on the way.
Oh, that's where all the village gossip happens. So if you don't do a deep psychological, sociological analysis, you give communities things that they never appreciate. You give communities never. So leadership is an art, a science that you have to continually upgrade your knowledge.
Your favorite leader?
Do I have
Your favorite leaders, the leaders you admire most, that you learn a lot from?
Do I have one?
You could have two.
You see, the problem I would have is that because I read a lot and I read on different leadership styles, so I might not be able to point one. I think that a leader is somebody who knows his own limits and yet still is able to meet the challenges of his people together with the people, who also knows that there's a time for everything, who decides to step out when time is up. I don't believe in term limits per se, but because of that human tendency of we never want to leave, term limits has come to stay. But there are many more countries that practice the prime ministerial form of government than the presidential. And there's no time limit, being a prime minister. And the country seems to be better governed than though there's presidential term limits.
Like Singapore and other places.
Yeah. And because when you look at it, when you put people in a room like the bowels of Parliament, and they live together, whether they like it or not, haven't you noticed that they seem to cooperate?
Yeah, you have to. You are forced to.
Agree on things. Be in the bowels. So when you come here, they will tell you, ministers that don't respect Parliament have problems. Ministers that don't come to Parliament have problems. So you will be there and Parliament will refuse to do a work of a minister because they claim they don't see the minister. And in one breath, don't do it for one minister. In another breath, do it for another minister because, as for this minister, he's always here to do his work. That's how it is. It is the issue is respect, right? I believe that the basis of human relations is respect. If the other party sees that you respect him or her, definitely he will do the same back. Loyalty, for me, has been an overflogged thing. People claim loyalty. What they don't say is that, is it reciprocal? If loyalty is not reciprocal, then we need to throw that word away. Why? Should it be always the younger one who is being loyal to the top one? No. The top man must also be loyal. It has to. So people always miss the concept of reciprocity in loyalty. And then starts, once you hear people shout, and you have to be loyal, it means that those people are not loyal. Because you don't demand it. It has to flow. People have to know that you are covering their backs. People have to know that you are supporting them. People have to understand that their interest is in your interest, and you meet together to solve problems. Once it becomes like, go and do this, if you don't do it, you are not loyal. I'm not sure that is the meaning of the word loyalty in its true sense.
I really thank you for your time, and I wish you nothing but the best. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Prosperous New Year.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Memokwaba edeba ENJ Home Deco asye aha yeton inkonya papa ewa hase inkonya leda no wudisi wudemu eye forever and ever ajese wankasa wo pese wo sesa wunkonya no na leda no de wa wo bana wa wo besomu a wa hu atim se mi fili leda nankasa enya de a epa enya de etete enya de a esei ani na de yedi enua aye no so no endwa ni mu oduye ye papa ehompa ehonsei eguwu demu a eguwu ho a chese obi eba besrawa fe eti wani mu ye pa ni nyina so ebo eda from ye pa nkonya ne de mu efe ye said ye wuhu e wo screen ni so no ye wo single ones wa ha say ya say wo bedroom na pese ya audit na ni ahomache wo tena se na wa dwendwen wo life ho a eno so ebusu bebre e wa ha say 2 in 1 e wa ha family size de enso e wo aha say na enj home deco enye inkonya ko a na ye tom ye wo center tables nyira so ebi wa ha ye wo side tables enso wa ha ene wo ko wo dem a esisi nchen wo di wo phone bi beto so charge a no so kama center table no so no flowers ni siso a ana se wo teddy bear ne da so a fa akono ye pa ye ton eye emema shirt designer shirt nkwan so na ye ton wa ha sei ye ton shirt papa wo betimi e de etukwan shirt a wo betimi e de akọ wedding program bia shirt a wo betimi e de akọ eyi ase shirt a ehyewo a obi hu ose papa yi ana abrante de nani atiye pa because nipa de wipia bonti a ye wo dressing ne ebi hu nipa usu ne wo ban a wo ye eti dressing de ehu hia ye pa eti no fo ani kire enj home deco ha say na ba beje shirt papa pa fa ehyewo a wan kasa wo be feel gbenze within you no na enj enye shirt nkwan so ne san so eton wa ha say ye wo wall posters enso e wa ha ebo bedroom ebo ho a fe obi besra wa kono yi a chese eti wanim pa enya go na midi said de hu screen so say eye fe ani ne bon so e wo form yesan so akwa eye wall clock so e di aba ebo wo no ho a ene enu ane say time ne so ikura na opese ne time bia wo hwe wo clock no because f design no eye one in town wa wunya bi wo ba bia age say enj home deco ha say yakwa eye bathroom eye mirrors so di aba eno so no f ye size bia bi wa ha type bia bi wa ha wo ba enj home deco ha wonsa ebekam tomato paste ai aduane no aso hu hia wo tonya mari na siesie wo ho ne wo da mu wi a akase wo bedidi eno so ne adwe wo ho yie pa enti akwa tomato paste original one a ne bro eda from enso edi aba ubetini aba betobi yesan so ewe ye cooking oil ye fe no sunflower no yakofa bin so edi aba wunim say sunflower cooking oil there ye quality ye original wo di ye aduane na se we ye mistake bi mpo na bi nchibi gu mu kwa na bro so a oil no ebe solve mistake ni nyina ade ama wan ka se bia na do ye no na egusu ejizane na so ye pa eti no for wani chrem ewe ye enj home deco aha no ye wholesale and then retail wo pese utu tonwa ye available wo person tone mako so ye available wakasa wa chichi ni benchen so na wutimi mba wo frɛ number na etwagu screen na mama comfort e de nyema no be brew e wo wakasa wo fia wo da ho no wanwa no bete pepe enj e na yaba no ya na yaba no enj home deco na ye di advertisements abagana